Thank you very much. Hello, hello, hello. I've also just dropped my Insta link in there for you as well, just in case you want to see the things that we talk about over there as well. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks, Noah, for your session beforehand. I mean, at the end of that session, actually, when Mo came back in and was talking about it's classroom management is very important to student well-being and so on. Well, oh, I'm just going to put more light on here. Just if my face gets too shiny, just let me know. All about well-being. Well, this session has a huge focus on student well-being. Now, I'm going to open up my PowerPoint and share the screen in just a moment. I've got both of my screens on, so I don't want to confuse myself. I'm very easily confused. Now, it's funny. So as I say, we're talking about big climate emotions and student well-being. And at this exact moment in time, my daughter is upstairs. You'll hear more about her later, I'm sure. She's in a meeting with Kids Against Plastic. And as I walked down the stairs, I heard that they were talking. So these are kids from the age of about 7 to 14. It's a child-led charity. They all empower each other. And as I walked down, I could hear Inaya, one of the older members of the group, saying, "Okay, everybody, so what is mental well-being?" So this is something that our students are speaking to each other about. Oh, thank you very much, Fiona. This is something our students are talking about. This is something that people care about. Gen Z and the Alpha generation are very much focused on mental well-being. So the classroom isn't just a place where we learn grammar and vocabulary. It's a place where we need to foster care for our students. We need to make sure our classroom is a safe space for everyone to come in, whoever they are, however they're feeling, even if they're just a dog, because she's always here in my classroom. So if she disturbs you, again, just let me know. So we need to make sure that everybody feels safe and welcome in our classes. So I'm going to try and share my screen with you now. Hopefully you can see it. Everybody's disappeared for me now, so I'm going to have to try and find you all again.
Yep.
You can see it. Yes, that's good
Yeah,
news.
sure.
Good news. Now I'll find the chat at some point and I'll be able to see your questions. There we go. So as you can see, this is big climate emotions in the ELT classroom. And just in case you were confused, in the bottom corner there, that is a photo of me. I just have a different hat on. So just to make sure you know, it is me. It's still winter, so I'm not quite back into my summer hats just yet. And I apologize. I'm not wearing a secondhand shirt. It's a secondhand hoodie because it is a little bit cold this morning. Yesterday, we had floods of rain, which was a very strange thing for here in Andalusia because it's raining a lot, but we're also in the middle of a drought. So it brings up a lot of different climate emotions in me, but also in our students. And you can see in the images there are different feelings that everybody is experiencing at the same time. So who is this clown? Mohammed introduced me before. I'll very quickly talk again. I am the chief hat wearer and coffee maker at Renewable English. Here I am with my coffee in my Renewable English mug. It's like I'd planned ahead and everything. I live in Sevilla, or just outside Sevilla. I'm from Northampton. Has anybody ever been to the UK? By the way, the dog is a Labrador Mastiff Cross. There was a question there. If anyone has ever been to the UK, if you've ever been to Northampton, I'm sorry. It's not the nicest place in the world. There are lots of lovely places in the UK. The dog is called Estrella, by the way. There are lots of lovely places in the UK. Oh, wow. Sarita went to Northampton in 2000. Wow. That was about the moment I realized it was time to leave Northampton. So then we can see some of the things I like. I really like flags, secondhand shirts, and my dog, Estrella. Something I don't like is green peppers. I really, really, really dislike green peppers. I don't understand green peppers. Green peppers are red peppers that aren't ripe yet. Green peppers, it's like, would you eat a green orange? Would you eat a green banana? Well, I wouldn't, so I don't eat green peppers. Anyway, moving on from the things that make me angry, I'm going to apologize in advance. There's quite a lot of writing on this PowerPoint. Now, the reason I've done that is because I'm going to make the PowerPoint available afterwards. So I wanted there to be all of the information in there. Usually there would just be a few images and a few words, but because this is quite a complex issue and something that I'm sure you will all be dealing with in the near future, then I just want to let you know that there is quite a lot of writing. So don't worry, you don't have to read it all now. The slides will be available. Ah, Fiona was in Harrow. Harrow's a nice place. Well, the school is nice for sure. So, why should we be talking about the climate crisis in our classrooms? You know, should we be talking about grammar? Should we be talking about vocabulary? Well, yes. But I don't know if you've ever looked in a textbook, but in textbooks, there are lots of different units. There are lots of different themes. They are all connected through the climate crisis. This is a global crisis. It is relevant to language. You can learn English through learning about the climate crisis. Something the wonderful Ron has been mentioning recently. He's just here to my left at the moment. And that's planet-based learning. We can learn English while we're learning about the planet. English can be the medium to learn about the planet. The planet can be the medium to learn about English. It encourages global citizenship. So, yes, we'll be learning, we'll be working on issues that are close to home, we'll be engaging with issues that are close to home. But look at this wonderful room. We've got people from all across the globe in this one place. And we do, as Marwa says, we do belong to this world and it is ours. And we need a sustainable future. The Earth just eclipsed the 1.5 degree barrier for a year. It's clear that we need to make a change. And what we can do with our students, we can educate them to make a positive change. And in making these changes, they will help themselves, they'll help the planet. And despite what a lot of people say, you can save a lot of money by being more sustainable. People always look at oh, if I want to be vegan, I have to buy Beyond Beef so I can have a burger, but that's really expensive. It's so important that we learn to deal with all of these issues because we can save a lot of money as well. And as you say, we need to learn how to respond to change and to take action. So, how do you feel when you hear these words? Climate emergency. Do you feel motivated? Do you feel guilty? That's me with my guilty pleasure. I call it Nutella fingers. You know the one. Do you feel powerless? Do you feel scared? Oh, or do you feel uninterested? So how do you feel when you hear about the climate emergency? Sarita feels guilty. Sarika feels a sense of gloom. Scared. Mohammed feels scared. But also ready to take action. Good, I like that. Scared. Lots of people feeling scared. Moved, yeah. So there are lots of different feelings. We'll get more into this. There's a lot of people feeling scared. Now, if we're feeling scared, imagine what our students are feeling. Scared but ready to save the planet. Yes, Mohammed. So if we're feeling scared, imagine how you feel you have a role. Brilliant. Our students must be feeling, all sorts of different things. And we will look at these different things in just a moment. But I'd like to know how you feel when you hear these words. Youth empowerment. Very good. It is. It teaches and learners. Yes, we can all make a difference. How do you feel when we say youth empowerment? Action. Motivated. Energy. You see, when it comes to the climate crisis, when it comes to actions for the climate crisis, the way we frame it is the way we will feel. And it's the same for our students. If we frame the climate crisis as, oh, I'm really sorry, your future's going to be terrible. Never mind. Now let's look at the present continuous. That's not going to make them feel good. But if you arm them, equip them with the tools for them to make a difference, for them to say, I'm not going to let this happen, then it will make a huge difference. So I don't know if you know this quote. It's a very famous quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Frankie, nah, you are wrong. Whoever wrote his speech that day was clearly looking for a soundbite. That is utter nonsense. Fear itself? Come on, mate. What are you talking about? That is garbage. Fear itself. Come on, Franklin. You're better than that, Franklin. You're better than that. For me, the scariest thing isn't fear. For me, the scariest thing is apathy. One of the biggest feelings I've noticed with my students isn't that they're scared or they're motivated or that they're feeling guilty. It's that they don't really care. Now, for me, that's much scarier than a student coming to me saying, Harry, I'm getting really worried about, the extreme temperatures during the summer. What can we do? I'd much rather a student came to me saying, oh, I had a nightmare last night about this, that, and the other. Obviously, I don't want my students to be scared, but I want my students to care. Because if your students care, then they care about making a difference. If they don't care, if they're indifferent, if they're apathetic, then they're never going to want to make a difference. And they'll continue to this endless loop of consumerism and damage to the planet. So we need to understand that we can exactly tackle it with a positive perspective, but we can also use these negative emotions. So this is the Climate Emotions Wheel made by the Climate Health Network. This is a beautiful tool to have. Now, when we go into the classroom at the start of the day, we usually say, hi, how are you? What day is it today? Today is Saturday, the 10th of February. And how's the weather today? It's raining and cloudy. And how do you feel? I am happy. I am sad. We can reframe this and we can say, how do you feel about? Look at maybe how do you feel about this development with the climate crisis? It could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. And when I look at this wheel, I like to look at the top half as being action motivators. These are the feelings that make you want to make a difference. If you're feeling angry and frustrated, then you want to change that. If somebody makes you angry, imagine you're at work and you open the fridge and somebody has eaten your favorite yogurt. You've been saving that yogurt all day. You've been looking forward to that yogurt. You're like, it's lunchtime. I'm going to have my yogurt. You open the fridge and there's no yogurt there. You're going to feel outraged. You're going to feel indignant and you're going to turn around and you're going to say, I'm going to find who stole my yogurt and I'm going to get them to buy me a new yogurt. But you've got that feeling where you want to make a difference. Whereas if you open the fridge and it's gone and you're just like, oh no, there's nothing there. What am I going to do? You won't make a difference. You won't find that yogurt. You won't change. Or if you're suddenly overwhelmed by the fact there's no more yogurt and what are you going to do? Using these top emotions to spark change, it's really important. And the bottom emotions, we can show them how this isn't the case, this powerlessness. I feel this a lot of the time when I see governments drilling for oil or trying to find new ways of extracting fossil fuels. What we need to do is look for these emotions, find them, isolate them, and change them into something better. Now, you can see in the corner there, Ideas in Action, Activities for a Greener Mindset. This book will be available, I think it's being published November the 18th. It's a brilliant, wonderful book, all about how you can take actionable changes about the climate crisis in your classroom while still learning about English. I have no idea who wrote it, but it will be available very soon. So the truth about this, the truth about these different climate emotions. Well, I'm not sure if that's a good thing, Fiona. I'll take it as a good thing. Now the truth about these climate emotions is that you can't just isolate on one thing. You can't just be scared. You can't just be anxious about the climate emotion, about the climate change, climate crisis. They change from one day from the next, from 1 minute to the next. And imagine this in our young students, particularly our students who are, let's think about the students who are, they're entering puberty, they're going through puberty. So we're looking at students who are, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. They're feeling things that they don't even know about. They can't control these feelings. So these on top of all of the regular emotions. I remember being a teenager, 3,000 years ago. I would get angry not only about a yogurt, I'd get angry if I couldn't find my shoes in the morning. So imagine how you feel if you're reading that your planet is on fire. It is a moving spectrum of emotions. And we need to make sure that our classroom is a safe space for them to talk about these emotions. We need to be able to talk about how they're feeling and what they're feeling, and not just about the third conditional. If I had known about the climate emotions were when I was a younger teacher, I would have done more to change it. See that? Third conditional. All about climate emotions. Ta-da! So we need to go beyond eco-anxiety. And oh, there we go. We're talking about the action inhibitors. So I want to have a quick look at this word, hope. I like to think of myself as climate hopeful. But if we look very closely, we can't see the word optimism. Now, the reason for that, I would like to thank Daniel Barber for this. He brought this quote to my attention. Now, to be optimistic is to assume things will work out. To be hopeful is to realize that things can work out if you work at them. Hope requires responsibility and agency. Optimism relieves you of both. Ron is amazing, by the way. The Link's king, I would have to say. So you don't see optimism there on the climate emotions wheel. It isn't on there because it's more about hope. Because with hope, you do have that responsibility and agency. I am really, really, really hopeful. I know that there are solutions there. I know that, we can do this, we can make these changes, but I'm not optimistic at the moment. I know that there are so many hurdles that we need to get over, but I'm hopeful that we can all come together and we can do that. So I would say I'm hopeful about the climate crisis, but I'm not optimistic at the moment. We can become more optimistic. There are things that bring hope into my day. Every day, I make sure that every day I read a good climate story. Every single day, I read something good that is happening on the planet. Every day, I look at what my daughter is doing. She is making huge strides. She's 10 years old and she's making a difference with her friends, with her peers, with people across the globe. She's doing really big things to try and make a difference. I'll show you more about that soon and ways you can get involved with that. But she's doing this, and I've noticed in her, because what happened to her one night, she woke up when she'd started learning about the climate crisis, and she was really worried about it. There were things in there that she had seen, that she had read, that made her really scared, and she was only 7 years old. So we've worked with her and we can see with her that this action that she's taking is inspiring optimism. It's inspiring a step away from the fear. Exactly. Even in the gloomiest moments, a smile can make a difference. So I've worked with lots and lots of different with different students, with different teachers, with lots of people within education. And there were probably about 10 main issues that students had. 10 main causes for what is commonly called eco-anxiety. These were the four really big ones. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we can look at these 4 different areas and what we can do with our students. Now, this was the basis of a TEDx talk that I did. I didn't give Ron the link, but I will put the link into the chat in a while. Don't worry. If you want to see it, but it's basically this, but shorter. So what can we do? Something Ron will be proud of me with there. I made that image on AI, Ron. Thanks for all your help. Big inspiration, Ron. So yeah, I did use AI to make that image. What can we do? We can see lots of different global educators there thinking, what can we do to help our students? What can we do to help them? Well, the big focus for me is look at their ability and not their responsibility. Something I've really noticed with the way the world is now, and particularly with my daughter, lots of people saying, wow, you're going to change the world. You're going to save the world. You can do this. And people are saying to the younger generations, the people who are, 10 to 20 years old, you're going to change the world. This is up to you. Ron's just he's just amazing. Hats off to Ron. I mean, I can't say enough good words about Ron. He has got an amazing ability. So we look at their ability. What can they do to make a change, but not what they have to do? This is one of the really big issues that I've noticed within the climate sphere is this heaping of responsibility on young people. And suddenly it's up to them to save the world. It's up to them to end fossil fuel extraction. Come on. It's not up to them. But what can they do? What is within their sphere of influence? How can we help our students expand that sphere of influence? Because at first, a 10-year-old student will think, well, I can't really do much. But you know what? They really can. When they find their voice, when they have the power of a teacher behind them, encouraging them all the way, that sphere of influence can grow. And it can start with their family, them going home to their family saying, can we reduce our single-use plastics? And it can grow beyond that. It can become a school-wide initiative. It can become a town-wide initiative. It can become a nation-wide initiative. It can become an international initiative. It can become a galactic, okay, maybe not a galactic initiative just yet, but showing our students what they can do and not what they have to do. Focus on the great things our students can do and not the responsibility of what they need to be doing. Yes, localizing and globalizing the issue. Good. Think global, act local. So the way I like to look at this, and this is something that an idea that I developed with a wonderful human called Heidi Penn. She's a 17-year-old high school student who has the 1.5 Degrees podcast. She started this. Well, I started this as the first 3 letters, and she ended it with the last 2. So listen to your students. We've talked about having an open space in our classroom. Well, listen to them. Sit down and listen to how they're feeling and what they're feeling about. Encourage them. What do they want to do? They want to make a difference. And then amplify their message. Take that message and share it on a global scale. There's a piece of artwork from a Gen Z artist and activist called Elijah Mackenzie Jackson. And then these last 2 are what Heidi added to this. Respect your students' opinions and then nurture them. Nurture them, nurture what they feel, nurture all their ideas as well. So as I mentioned, it's part of the 1.5 Degrees podcast. I will make these slides available. I'll give them to the wonderful, who is on this side for me, Mohammed. So we're going to look at those 4 different actions we mentioned before, the government in action, and how we can learn about them. So government in action, what can we do? Listen. Obviously, it's written there. Have an open session in your classroom to talk about what the government is or isn't doing. Again, I'm not saying you need to criticize the government or bring the government down or say awful things about the government. Maybe not, but look at what the government is or isn't doing. And in some countries, it's not just inaction, but it's negative action. In the UK, they're drilling for more oil. Stop Rosebank. So brainstorm these ideas and listen to their concerns and agree and share their concerns. As a teacher, be vulnerable. You need to be strong for them, but you also need to show them that it's okay to not be okay. Encourage them to research different policies and their impacts. Have a look at these different ideas. Go into it. Look for them. If your students care about this, then this will be a great project for them to work on. Planet-based learning. Amplify that message. Bring guest speakers in, bring local policy makers in and activists to talk about this, to share that message. Take that message to the local government. This is one where, we'll have to go between both. We'll have to go here between maybe in English and maybe in the mother tongue as well. We'll have to work in English in class, but if we're going to a local government and talking about climate policy, suggesting new climate policy, it could be something as simple as, a local policy to reduce single-use plastic bags in supermarkets. It doesn't have to be a huge thing where you take down the government because they're drilling for oil. Look on a local scale at the different things that they can do and amplify your students' message. Work on a petition, for example. And be respectful. Let them share their different opinions. Let them share their different ideas. Your classroom is a safe space. Again, I'm not saying you need to plot to bring down the government. That's not what we're talking about here. We're not, this isn't Guy Fawkes night. We're not bringing down the government. We're not trying to blow up the Houses of Parliament. What we're doing is thinking about the different things, the small changes that we can all make to make a difference. And then nurture that sense of agency in your students. Once your students are thinking about doing something, help them, encourage them, show them that what they're doing is a good thing and move them on to the next level. So if they're worried about government inaction, that's a way that we can learn. Yes, we can conduct debates. There are so many ways we can learn from our students. We can listen, we can encourage, we can amplify, we can respect, and we can nurture. And I don't know about you, but I love what we call in Spanish a good manifestación. And yeah, it can be a bit of fun. Again, it depends where you are, how possible this is. Some countries it's easier to protest than others. I would never encourage a student to protest if it would put them at risk of imprisonment or danger. I would never encourage a student to do that. But depending where you are, perhaps you have the opportunity to do so. So, as you mentioned, we've got debate activities. You can have letter writing campaigns, or you can, even if you want, you can have a protest. Debate activities are great for sharing these ideas. Letter writing campaigns, you can find them all over the place, and something you need to do in your IELTS, in your first certificate, you have to make sure that students are writing letters. Well, instead of writing a letter to your English friend John has written you a letter. Talk to him about what you want to do at the weekend. Students don't care about that. Talk about something they want to talk about. Write a letter to local government about reducing the use of fountains so you can save on water. Kids Against Plastic's a good one to join. Also, when it comes to protests, I've done protest march in a very localized area. So we've worked on the placards, we've worked on the signs, and I've done it in the playground. I've done it in the classroom where we practiced some different chants and stuff like that. And again, they were respectful things. It was all about saving the planet. It wasn't about bringing down the government because, again, that can be pretty dangerous depending where you live. So experiencing an ecological event. Here in Andalusia, we are in the middle of a drought. As I mentioned, it rained very heavily yesterday. So Some parts of town are flooded. So it's flooded, but we're in a drought. Like, I never thought that would be possible, but funnily enough, it is. So we're experiencing that now. And you can see a lot of places. There's wildfires. There's all sorts of different events that are happening. And that affects our students. Our students can feel that. Our students know what is happening there. And it can be incredibly worrying. It can be incredibly scary, even if it's something just down the road. I know that Ron lives in Germany. I remember a few years back, there were some very, very serious floods. There were some very serious floods back in Germany. This isn't something now that's happening far away. It's happening absolutely everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. And it's something that all of our students can relate to. And all of our students, it's really scary. So listen to our students and share your own personal experience with that in the classroom. Share your own feelings. Tell your students that it's okay to not be okay. It's natural to be worried about these different things. Thank you very much for your kind words, Fiona. It's so important that we do have that safe space. So encourage your students to explore the science, look at the local, the impact of ecological events and the different things they've learned about. People often talk about green investment is very expensive, but if you look at the big oil companies, they earned their profits last year were in the multi-billions. But just last year, we spent about 301 billion on repairing things from weather events alone. So it's actually cheaper in the long run to not have these things happen. So amplify your students' message. Somebody mentioned creativity before. Yes, our students have a lot of energy. They are so creative. Get your students to use this creative outlet. How much better do you feel when you get your feelings out? Get your students to draw, get your students to paint, get your students to write, use digital storytelling. Give your students, encourage them and amplify that message. So if your student comes in with a painting, put it up on the wall, show other teachers, show other students, let them know the brilliant things that students are creating. I showed you the image of that Eli had created just before. Show your students' work, amplify that message and show it to the world. But respect it. It's so important that we respect everybody. Maybe one person is more affected than another person. It's not okay for the other students in the class to attack that person. And maybe one person doesn't feel bad about it and everyone else in the class does. We need to respect that student who maybe isn't taking everything on board and maybe they're blocking it out. We need to respect that person's feelings. It's so important. We cannot make everybody feel exactly the same thing. And then again, I've said this a few times, so we nurture this resilience and a positive outlook. So maybe things aren't looking great. Maybe there's been a landslide. Maybe there's been a drought. Maybe there's been a flood. We can nurture this positive outlook. And how can we become stronger from this? How can we come out of this feeling? Nobody wants to always feel scared and anxious, but it's okay to recognize that. Again, I'm going to say this a lot. It's okay to not be okay. It's fine to not be okay sometimes. So what can we do? Storytelling, emotional mapping. We can look at how we feel, put down how we feel, how we want to feel. How do I feel right now? How do I want to feel tomorrow? And we can look at how we can go from one place to the other. And this brilliant one, role playing and problem solving. We don't have to role play, I don't know, that we're in the playground and we've just found 50 cents on the floor. That's an interesting role play that might be in your textbook, but we can role play these problem solving activities. We can role play ways around these different ideas. How can we work on these? How can we stop these wildfires? How can we prevent this flooding? What can we do? What can be done? This is a massive one for me. Absolutely enormous. How to spot greenwashing. Yes, Ron. There isn't a lot of climate education. For me, I advocate for it across the board. It should be in history, maths, geography, French, German, science. It should be in every single subject because it is in every single thing we do. Everything we do has an impact on the planet. It's up to us to make sure we're having a good impact on the planet. So a lack of climate education, ta-da! Of course, you can buy this book when it comes out. Sorry, bit of a plug there. Ask your students what they want to learn. Look at the different areas of interest. When you're talking about fashion in your class, talk about the impact of fashion. Like, uncover the gaps of knowledge, because your students don't know everything. You don't know everything, but look for the gaps in their knowledge and see what you can do to try and make a difference there. I always ask my daughter, what would she like to learn about? Is there something that she doesn't know about that she'd like to know about? Find these areas, look at these areas, and it's a great way, again, of flipping the classroom. It's a great way of empowering your learners. It's a wonderful way of letting them take the stage as well. You know, you can listen to them, you can encourage them to research it and come back to you with their ideas. Get them to engage. Oh, I felt the door opening behind me there. Engage on their own research projects on climate-related topics. Look at learner autonomy. Give them a platform to share their findings and their perspectives. Again, we need to campaign for a change within our syllabus, within our syllabi. But we can get our students to bring this climate education into the classroom. If the government aren't going to change things, we can change things. We've got the power. Oh, I can't help it, but I've got the power. Sorry, that was one for the 90s folks there. We do have the power. We are the teachers. We are the people that are in there. We can help our students do that. Give them a voice and a choice. Absolutely. Respectful environment. So when our students are contributing to their hello, good morning, we can make sure they feel valued and comfortable. We can help them with whatever they want to do, and then encourage this ongoing curiosity. So if the Ministry of Education aren't going to change things to focus on the climate crisis, then absolutely we can do that. I'll be sharing this. Don't worry, this will 100% be shared. And also, if you have any questions, you can find me on Instagram as well. You can email me. I'll give you all the details afterwards to look at that. Okay, so I'm excellent. We've got 9 minutes. So ideas sharing, flipping the classroom, and campaigning. That's what we can do. We can help our students do that. But remember, not everybody in the classroom is going to want to do it. Not everyone in the classroom is going to want to say, do you know what? I want to be a climate activist. There are other areas they can look at as well. Of course, when the book comes out, you can get that too. And now the last one is this perceived personal responsibility. This is something that I hear all the time. This is something that has been created by huge multinationals. You've all heard of the carbon footprint. You know, we've all thought about, oh no, I do too many things, I'm terrible. We need to get away from that with our students. Get away from this idea that it's their fault. Yes, individual action is vital, but individual action is vital to change our mindset. Reducing our own carbon footprint is vital to making changes in ourselves, but collective action is the most important. Collective action is the way we can all work together. So make sure your students aren't the ones who think that they're doing everything wrong. You know, we cannot change the circumstances of the season, but we can change ourselves. We can make a difference. We can make these changes. But that's a way to help us change our mindset. We need to realize that it isn't just our fault, but that means we can't pass the buck. So there's a fine balance here. Yes, we do have a responsibility to change, but we don't have a responsibility to change the world. Yes, encourage them to adopt sustainable practices, but more importantly, share their voice. You know, their actions are important, but the climate crisis is a bigger thing. So if your student comes in with a plastic bottle, don't say, you've got a plastic bottle, you're awful, you're killing the planet. Rah! They're not. The fact is that plastic bottles are being made on such a huge scale. That's the issue there. So campaigning against that is a big thing. Let them share how they're feeling. Let them share what they want to say to decision makers. I don't know why I wrote dedication makers there. I apologize. Everybody makes mistakes, even me. You know, if someone wants to have a bath, it's not a great use of water, but there you go. We can get around that. Yes. Oh, I've got so many things that we've done with plastic. I do upcycling in my classes all the time. So cultivate respect for different levels of engagement and ability. As it says there, not everyone can go vegan, but everyone can cut back on the amount of meat that they eat. You know, not everybody can walk to school, but maybe they can car share. So everybody has a different level of engagement. You don't all have to be sustainability champions, but you can encourage your students to be more sustainable. So we need to make sure our students have a balanced view. You know, they don't have to stop doing everything. You know, if they go to H&M and buy a pair of trousers, or you know, they go to C&A and buy a t-shirt, then that's okay. You know, but try and look for options, other ways to do it. We're part of a big picture here. We can do everything we can, but don't kill yourselves in trying to do it. So we can have workshops on eco-friendly lifestyles. We can play carbon literacy games. We can do upcycling projects. Guess what? All of this will be in the book. But again, we can change ourselves. We can't change everything that's happening in the planet. So what now? Here are some very practical strategies. I'm just going to go through quickly. Acknowledge feelings. Make sure you notice how you are feeling. Yes, you must be the change you want to see in the world. Acknowledge feelings in the classroom. Be honest, be open, do not judge. Focus on solutions. Look at the good things that are going to change. Change now, a wonderful thing we're going to soon. All about that. Make changes, not sacrifices. Don't cut everything out of your life. Make small changes, bit by bit by bit by bit. Connect with nature. When you're connecting with nature, you can see what you want to save. Have goals and action plans and try to change people's mindset. So hopefully from today, we've got a different role for educators in the climate crisis, the potential that we can harness these emotions and we can make a change into agency and ensure that your classroom is a safe space. Now, something else here, I'm just going to be one little moment. I'm going to stop sharing for a second so I can share something else with you. I don't know why I'm singing Ladybug. So I'm going to share this with you here. My daughter does have a campaign, which is called the 1 Million Litter Pick. I mentioned her a few times. Now, she's also got a campaign to go to Paris. So I've mentioned the Change Now Summit. I'm going to share the screen with you now again. And so she's taking this idea. She's taking this idea to Paris. She's going to be speaking at the Change Now Summit. There's a little image of her there. Her name's Alethea. She's just standing outside the door at the moment, I think. And she had decided, so we're going to Paris to speak at this climate summit. And she said, let's go by electric car. So we're currently planning our route. We've got the car hired. We've found lots of people to collect with along the way. So if you would like to donate, feel free. There's the link to donate. And this is the campaign that she's working on. And she'll be speaking about individual power to collective action. Now, if you have any questions about this or about the one beforehand, feel free to get in touch. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me wherever you want to find me. You can email me. You can find me on Facebook. I'm probably somewhere on TikTok. To be honest, tomorrow morning, you're going to pour your cornflakes out for your breakfast and you're going to be like, what's Harry doing in my cornflakes? That guy's everywhere. What's he doing? Thank you very much, everybody. I'll stop sharing my screen now and I will hand over to these wonderful gentlemen, making me feel jealous that I'm not wearing glasses right now, feeling a bit left out, to be honest. So I'm going to go and find some glasses. And thank you, everybody, for coming.